2024 is a carryover model year for this 11th generation Honda Accord, and typically Honda doesn't make any major changes throughout the years. They'll do a facelift and then do a new generation. But does this really compete with the other mid-size consumer hybrid sedans out there, or is this just a little too expensive? I'm Niall, this is Test Drive, let's hit the road. So here we've got the 2024 Honda Accord Touring Hybrid, a mid-size, consumer-grade sedan that has quite a bit to offer. This is the fully loaded trim both in Canada and in the United States, and competes directly with a number of other vehicles. We'll talk about that in a sec, but let's talk about the pricing for this. This vehicle, base MSRP in Canada, $45,000, as tested about $47,000. That's about $39,000 for the same trim in the US. Quite a bit of money, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Powering this specific trim is a 2-liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine. It produces a combined 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired up with 2 electric motors, as well as Honda's e-CVT. Now, if you go with the entry-level trim here in Canada, it would be the EX, and then there's 2 different entry-level trims, 2 lower trims. In the US, you would be getting the 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, producing kind of similar powers, not quite as much, and not quite as much torque. Obviously, not a hybrid, but pretty okay options overall. But that's the direction Honda is going with. They are offering hybrid only for the higher up trims. We've seen that with vehicles like the Hyundai Tucson and Hyundai Sonata. They only allow you to have hybrids as you go up in the trim, which kind of makes sense. I mean, I think personally all vehicles should be hybrids at this point. You're going to be saving fuel, and overall they work really well. But they are a little pricey. As I mentioned, the Hyundai Sonata, we drove it in 2021, but if you were to configure a 23 Sonata Ultimate Hybrid, you're looking at about $43,000 Canadian, just a little bit above that. And then it's got a couple features that this car does not have. Specifically, it's got a surround view camera system. The Accord here only has a backup camera, and it's not a very high quality backup camera. And the Hyundai also has a panoramic sunroof. Now, it doesn't have a head-up display, which the Accord does, so plus minus there, but it's about $4,000 cheaper. Now, that's compared to the direct competition. The historical competitor to the Honda Accord has always been the Toyota Camry. If you were to configure an XLE hybrid, top-end trim, get everything with it, it's a little bit more than the Hyundai, but not by much, couple $100, $43,350 Canadian, which again is almost $4,000 less than this Accord. Now, for the most part, the features are about the same. You do get what Toyota calls a bird's eye view camera system on the Camry, but everything else is more or less about the same with that vehicle, which gives you some pretty good comparisons between this and that. $4,000 for either one. And you could argue, okay, well, I'm not going to buy the Hyundai because it's not quite as good, even though we do find that the build qualities have been superb on their vehicles over the last while. But compared to the Toyota, I mean, Toyota and Honda, again, historically have been competitors forever. And there's a big price difference. Yeah, this looks good. Exterior-wise, Honda has updated this quite a bit. It is a little bit longer, a little bit wider, same height overall. Trunk space is improved, according to Honda. And I'd say the styling is good. It's conservative. There's nothing that's going to offend anybody on it. And I find that there are some styling cues, maybe from a Volkswagen Passat and the Hyundai Sonata that we were just talking about. Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask people to draw a car, they're going to end up with this, right? It's nothing overly exciting, but that's fine. I think it looks good. And I do think it is a little bit more upmarket in terms of design. Yeah, is it really worth $47,000? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of pricey. But exterior looks pretty good. Comfort on the inside here is very good as well. I mean, Honda says that they've improved the ride, they've improved the quietness, they've improved the seats. The seats here, Honda says, are body stabilizing, and I do find that. I find, it took a couple hours to get home when I picked this thing up. It is very comfortable, and backseat space and comfort is good as well. I was able to film my B-roll back there. I probably wouldn't want to take a long road trip in the backseat on this, but driving it, absolutely very comfortable. But road noise was the first thing I noticed with the comfort. Really nice. I was dropping off the Acura TLX when I picked this up, so give me a good back-to-back comparison between the two. And I have to say that this certainly is quieter and more comfortable. Now, there are a couple drive modes with this car. There's also flappy paddles. Now, Honda says it's almost like a one-pedal drive mode. The more you push on the shift down button here, the more aggressive the recharges and the more aggressive essentially the one pedal driving is. Now, I was testing it before. We had some microphone issues, so we're doing this actually for the second time now. But if I were to get on the highway here, get up to speed, there's a truck in front of me. So if I let go, I have to now set that deceleration. And yeah, I mean, it'll bring it to a stop. Is it true one pedal driving? No. But, if you've got an electric or you like driving with one pedal, you almost could get away with it. So that is an option for you. There are some drive modes. We've got our Econ mode, the most eco mode, most eco-friendly mode. I've been driving around in that. There is a normal mode, sport mode, and individual. And then there's also an EV button. A lot of you guys in the comments way back in the day were making fun of me because I said I wish I had an EV button on a hybrid, and now they're starting to do it. Now, do you get a lot of range with that? Absolutely not. You're going to see maybe like a kilometer of total driving if you were fully charged up, but you do have the option to charge the battery as well as use the automatic feature or EV mode. So it's there, use it if you want it. And while we're talking about the EV modes and stuff, you can see all of that on the new digital gauge cluster that Honda has installed on this. It is a 10.2 inch cluster. You've got a 12.3 inch infotainment screen, which is using Android Automotive or the Google built-in. So essentially, it is a Android based system that Honda has developed the UI and everything for, and it looks good. I mean, it's pretty responsive, very quick. I was able to sign in and get everything set up without any issues. There's no XM radio though. Now, that is something that we talked about when we first drove Volvo's first version of their Android Automotive infotainment. Maybe it's something that will come down the road. It's like an app store, just like you would have on a smartphone. If you have an Android phone, you've got Google Play and things like that. I'm hoping they'll add some stuff down the road, but as of right now, there is no Sirius XM, which is a bit of a bummer, but everything else works pretty well. As I mentioned, the backup camera quality, pretty terrible, especially for $47,000. I was expecting something that was a lot better, but you take what you can get. Aside from that though, interior looks nice. It's sort of a trickle down from the Civic, which is the opposite way things should be going. This 22 Civic got this sort of mesh grille on the center of the dash area. It looks nice, but you want the more expensive vehicles to get all the fun stuff first, and then it trickles down to the more affordable vehicles. But I guess Honda likes to do things backwards. But let's get to the real meat and potatoes of why you would buy a hybrid, the fuel efficiency. If you're a longtime viewer here on Test Drive, you'll know that we had set up a 100-kilometer test loop back at the end of 2018, and every single vehicle we drove went through that test loop, giving us a really good idea of how fuel efficiency was across the board for all the vehicles we tested. Now, since I've moved to Ontario, I can't use that same setup, so I'm now using a new 100-kilometer test loop, which means all of our results cannot be compared to anymore. So I've been adding to our database, getting things back up, and being able to compare things. I haven't done any other mid-sized consumer sedans yet, but this vehicle on our test loop completed it in 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is all right. Yeah, I'm thinking that as we see more results, we'll be able to compare that to other things, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit better fuel efficiency. Yeah, I know that they do sell a plug-in hybrid in other markets. It would be nice if we had that option here because they don't sell the Clarity anymore. Honda Clarity was my favorite Honda, and they killed it off a couple of years ago, which is too bad because they could trickle in a lot of that tech into this vehicle. I mean, if this had that plug-in system here in Canada, it'd be a real contender, especially at this price point. I mean, I think that plug-in hybrid should be $47,000 Canadian. I'm still trying to get my head around this being just a normal hybrid for such a high price. But fuel efficiency has been pretty decent. We will have more results as time goes on, but that's at least what this vehicle has done. It is mostly a highway test with some city stuff, but the idea is we compare it to everything else that we do. So it doesn't necessarily mean that 6.6 is what you'll get, but it's how we've compared it to the other vehicles we've tested. But the 2024 Honda Accord does have quite a bit going for it. Yes, a carryover model means it is identical to any 23s out there, but I think Honda is on the right track, giving us a hybrid at the higher end trims, meaning there is no distinction anymore between an Accord and an Accord hybrid. If you're looking in this price point, if you're looking at a mid-sized consumer sedan, I do feel that there are a lot of options, right? You got a lot of different cars. If you want a hybrid, not quite as many, but there are some good competitors out there that do it for a little bit less. So for me, I can't justify $47,000 when you can go get two other vehicles that are superb for $4,000 less. Take that money, use it for gas. You're going to be pretty happy with that overall. I mean, $4,000 worth of gas, you're going to be driving for a while, especially at 6.6 liters. There's no complaints there. But overall, it does do a pretty good job. I would like to see a couple extra additions, like I said, a 360 camera and including better HD vision for that. And aside from that, maybe tweak the price a little bit, bring it down, and bring that plug-in hybrid to our market. Everything else, though, really good on the Accord. Quite happy with it. But thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight. As always, we look forward to hearing your comments and feedback. So leave a comment below if you like this video, if you've bought the Accord, or if you're considering it. Let us know what you think about it. And don't forget to subscribe and like to the channel as well, as it helps us to be able to grow this channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.